Please stand. You may be seated. We welcome you here today, and we're here to gathered to honor Gordon Poeschel. And all of us are here to celebrate the gift of the resurrection. We've gathered here today to support family, and we welcome all of you who are joining us online from all over Germany, Australia, parts of the U.S., There's some motorcycle riders on there, some skiers on there, and even some scuba divers. And we'll share about that later on in the service. But in times like these, we do turn to family, don't we? We turn to sacred music. We turn to sacred scripture for guidance, for peace, and for hope. So family and friends, we are here under the shelter of God's grace to say goodbye to Gordon. as we surrender him to God's eternal care. At this holy time, we open our hearts, shed our tears, share some laughter, also some pain and emptiness as we draw strength from the promise for God in our lives. While we know that we are all made of dust and one day we will return to dust, we also believe that through the resurrection of Christ, death's sting has been healed through the gift of the eternal God. Friends, we are humbly a people of God. Let us draw strength from one another, from family, from friends, as we celebrate Gordon's life, but also lament our mutual loss. Join me in the call to worship that's there in your bulletin. United in Christ as sons and daughters of the resurrection, we gather here to the glory of God and in memory of Gordon Poeschel. In the face of death, we turn for solace and support from the word eternal, knowing that God will not leave us comfortless. I am the resurrection and the life, says the Lord. Those who believe in me, even though they die, they will live. And whosoever lives and believes in me shall never die. In hope and in thanksgiving for a life well lived, let us worship God.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where God's feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light, Eden so plain. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day.
Pray with me. Eternal God, we bless you for the company of all those who have kept the faith, finished their race, and who now rest from their labors. We praise you for those dear to us whom we name in our hearts before you now. But today, we especially thank you for Gordon, whom you are now received into your presence. Help us to believe where we have not seen, trusting you to lead us through our years, and bring us at last with all your saints into the joy of your home through Christ our Lord.
Our Father, which art in heaven, temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
Big Papa was my grandpa. He really helped me with a lot of things. He really was the best I could ask for.
My name is Karin. I am Gordon's daughter. So, before I begin, my mother has asked that we not swear. It was a really big deal, so I'm sorry. It's part of my story. And if you knew my father, yeah. So, for 3 years, I have struggled for what I was going to say, what I was going to share. Would it be a song? Would I write something? Or would I just have the gift of silence? And then I thought, well, that's not going to happen. So the first go of this happened just after my father died. I was on the plane. I was writing everything down. And I'm pretty sure my father stepped in and was like, that sucked. You need to redo that. So I got home the next day, and I was like trying to go through it, and I was like, it's gone. The magic internet got rid of everything I had written. So as I was thinking through things, the first one is a short story about my father. And somewhere up in here is going to be a picture of him in a blue life vest sitting in the lake at the Lake of the Ozarks. And I want to share how I got my potty mouth, because it was definitely my father. So you have to think of my dad, probably late 40s, maybe early 50s. And he is in the Lake of the Ozarks. He is in the water. He is fixing our dock. He is sitting on this like life raft tube from the 70s that we used to wrap around our waist, and he's sitting on it like a horse. He is getting bounced up and down by the waves, and he is yelling every which word that you can ever imagine. Don't these people know I'm trying to fix the dock? You're like, okay, no, I don't, but I'm sure they don't know either. To the point, my dad has a wrench, and he's like fixing the bolt on the dock, and the wrench drops into the lake. And I can tell you right now, we went from yelling the F word to a smattering of other words, to the point that I thought all the bad words went together as a young kid. Not just individually, but together. And so here we are, bad words. And now I'm thinking, my dad is like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I am going back up to the house. Mom can deal with this. To the point, I'm now upstairs. Mom, I need a wrench. I don't know what you need. She had no idea. It was a very specific style wrench. I couldn't tell you to this day. We had no idea the names of the tools. So we're now upstairs trying to figure this out. I go back down to the dock, and my father is like, get me a rope. Oh, okay. Back up. And by the way, we did like 50 steps up and down from the house to the dock. And to the point where my dad has now tied the wrench to his wrist and the wrench to the rope. So there will be no more tools lost in the lake. This is ingenious of my father. To the point, we have lost a ton of things in the lake. We're talking wrenches and screwdrivers and sunglasses and you name it, it's sitting at the bottom of the lake. So we are now scuba dive certified. If ever you've been to Lake of the Ozarks, Not happening. My brother and my father thought we were going to earn a fortune going down, diving at the bottom of the lake to pick up all the things that we have lost. That didn't go well. I'm sure Brian might even mention that. So yes, that whole escapade, we are now scuba certified, no treasure, and by the way, we definitely did not earn our riches by scuba diving the lake. So as I tell this story, that was just one of many of learning how to say all my bad words together in one streaming sentence. My father, if you don't know, was an artist and a writer. And you will see some of his poems out front. And I thought, what better way to send him off than with a poem? A glimpse of his beautiful life through my eyes. And it's in no specific order, so it's not all gonna flow. So here it goes. You are my hero, my best friend. You are my gypsy guide. As you followed along till the end. I think in the heart of hearts, we led the way together. Oh yeah, hey Karin, could you get me a job? Dad, you have to interview, but sure, let me see. You saved me from a copperhead. We mashed acorns for mush. You left horses and the farm, and had such a business charm. To sneaking the BB gun to save the garden, to black eyed pea New Year's Day parties, barbecue ribs, a favorite till the end, love letters from Vietnam you would send. The red coolers packed, sandwiches prepared, traffic, oh my, be a little scared. Paul Simon, Neil Diamond, Indigo Girls. Having trouble here. A bear at our campsite soaked from head to toe, to rowing for hours with packs in tow, to watch where you cast and not knowing why you went out alone in silver fishing boat we owned. But yes, I now know why. A German, no doubt, in every which way, from a family who hawked a ring so they could build their home in the US and stay. Flip, he would yell. Fred, she would yell. 2 nicknames is all I can tell. A ski instructor he became with a freestyle cert to show. Who knew he could fly in the half pipe in his 60s? Yep, I know. A bad rotator cuff, a surgery gone bad. Did you know a whipple you would have? A slalom skier, and a passion for speed skating, a sport never pursued. To salmon fishing and lake fishing, your grandson has this itch. To learning SHIT and FUCK go together when fixing the dock. No, I don't know that tool, but I'll figure it out. To yes, Dad, I do electrical work, don't you? A writer, a philosopher, an artist, cyanamid, bear, Midwest Aquatics, a son who makes him proud, a wife he adored, 3 dogs, Candy, Taffy, and Kiowa, and 1 daughter who loves you loud and proud. Tennis and racquetball he did play, a fast eater and a shallow breather, crackling oat brand, seriously, yuck. And Stu and Jim, friends since high school, that just was his luck. Rolling hills, Pompton Plains, and a church he helped build, a lending ear and a helpful hand, a guitar and the Chiefs you do favor, homemade ice cream on the porch, the condo or lake, fried catfish, burnt chicken, and no casseroles, that would be a mistake. Barbecue sauce on your broccoli, turkey a favorite, and oh, screw the gout, fried salami he would savor. Your bucket list is incomplete, all but one I know. To the Maldives my family will go, just for you, with Watson in tow. For scuba diving is the reason that retirement was bearable. And a motorbike that Mom would ride and make it seem desirable. Across the world you would travel with business and for pleasure. Alaska, Galapagos, Africa, Asia. Road trips across the Americas with friends and family you did treasure. Australia, a favorite, and a place you once called home. To learn the language, to Germany you went. To lifelong friends with Peter and Petra and nights at the Cape. A home with a fireplace, that is a must. Chopping wood from dawn to dusk. You stood at the lane and asked me to run. How fast could I go? How little did you know? From yelling at soccer refs to me yelling back, if you don't stop, you don't get to come back. To protecting my heart as we mourned the loss of your first grandson. to rejoicing in life as Watson, your treasure, his life begun, to helping me pass my scuba test at 12. Yep, I cheated. It's okay, now you know. But I feel it's all fair as I helped you prepare for treading water, which was such an affair. I remember dinners where tears were shed, not from sadness but laughter, and nights I wish would not end. Uno, Parcheesi, and gin. Oh my gosh, please don't play Scrabble with us again. From 4 chiefs to now 5, and no Indians. 4 sheets of toilet paper. Who knew, but why? Service over self and golf. I think we have to swear when we play this game. No, we don't sit down on vacation to always pursuing new information. A big older brother from Milwaukee he reigned. A badger with a PhD he obtained. From a drinker of beer and oh, not Schlitz. To the finer things in life, like an old fashioned or something like this. 3 taps on the back say, I love you. We got this thing down. Don't say it. That's silly. You know it's true. A baseball game, the Braves, now the Brewers, their first date. Yes, baseball. Yep, a game that my father hates. His high school sweetheart he did marry. Wisconsin, Vietnam, Washington, D.C., Army bases and more, New Jersey, Kansas City, on Avon they did go. An ROTC member, which was why Vietnam, to dad hard of hearing because of a bomb. A bunk saved his life, and God must have came. A believer in the church, the Presbyterian way. Celestine prophecy, I'm not sure, but probably today. Spruce, spiffy, shuckles, and the kicker is, to yes, you can have a sip of my beer fizz. You fought the fight, and raced through the very last mile. With a tear in your eye, I knew you said goodbye. Mom, you must know that he loved you so. A flip to your flop, or a flop to your flip. No matter the words said in the end, love is more than a word, it's a feeling, the true test of time. And knowing you are in it makes me smile. I know you will watch over us and whisper in our ear, Dad, I love you. Farewell till we meet again.
Brian, let me take a look at that real quick. I want to make sure you're on.
Is that better in the back? Okay. All right. I'm not going to stand up here and tell you what kind of great dad he was, because he was. I'm not going to stand up here and tell you how we gave my sister and myself the best possible start in life that anybody could have, because he did. And I'm not going to stand up here and tell you that he was always there for my sister, myself, my mom, the family, because he was. And we were very lucky because of that. Very lucky, because not so many people are. What I wanted to share with you was more how I'll remember him, and some stories that I'll take away. So, I appreciate my sister asking for permission to cuss, because I thought I was going to have to do it, which is good. A number of years ago, which story should I start out with? A number of years ago, actually forgot the story. I was going to tell on that one. Okay, so for his 50th, in college, I took up skydiving. And for his 50th birthday, I decided to give him the gift of jumping out of a perfectly good airplane, which he reluctantly said yes to. And it's interesting because I don't remember the drive down. It's about an hour south to here. And don't remember the drive down. I do remember walking up to the window with the guy and talking to the guy and saying, this is kind of a one-time thing. And the guy said, well, you have 2 choices. You can do the tandem one. That's where there's a guy in your back and you're kind of a bit of a tourist. And, and you kind of don't really need to do anything. We just kind of get you in the plane and away we go. Or the other choice is to actually go through some training and kind of do it yourself. And jump out, and you got to control the chute, and you got to land, and you got to do all that stuff. So there's a much higher level of risk associated with that, as you can probably imagine. So he, interestingly enough, chose the riskier of the two, which I will say surprised the hell out of me. And anyway, and I don't remember him training there for a little while. I do remember us, and I obviously went with him, I do remember us getting on the plane, and you have to imagine like 6 adults and crammed inside of a real small single-engine Cessna. And I remember him looking over at me, and whenever they shut the door, when you're skydiving, when they shut that door and they fire up the engine, you want to feel adrenaline going? That's a good time. And he looked over at me, and I looked over at him, and I will never forget this look. And if there was a holy crap look anybody could give you, it was there. It was kind of that fake grinning smile that just hid a lot of, oh shit. So the plane takes off, and we get up there, and I don't remember much of the ride, which is fine. And it's him, he's first out. And the guy that's his instructor and helping him out, you know, it's his time. He opens the door, and adrenaline notches up a little bit, and he pushes out to the door, and the wind's coming through the door, and it's a bit violent. It's it's unsettling, to say the least. And I remember him hanging on to the strut of the wing, waiting for the thumbs up from the instructor. And again, same holy shit look. And there he goes, he jumps out. I jump out immediately after him. I free fall, I try to catch up with him a little bit. Anyway, we meet up on the ground. He lands, no problem, thank goodness. Right? Very easy to hurt yourself. He lands, no problem. And I go up to him, and I will never forget this look. I go up to him. You have to imagine, now, if you know Gordon, he's 6'4". He's wearing a jumpsuit that is 6 inches too short in the legs. It's 6 inches too short in here. It was probably made in 1940. He's wearing a yellow motorcycle helmet that probably wouldn't protect him from a falling ice cube. He's wearing these plastic goggles. It just almost ragtag looking. And he's holding his chute, right? Because you got to gather the chute up. And he's walking to me, and I'll never forget the smile. And he goes, "We're doing that again." Big smile. All because of jumping out of an airplane. A number of years ago, I went out to Colorado to do skiing, to do some skiing. Dad was out there. The idea was we were going to ski a few days together. Whatever time of year it was, doesn't matter. I think it was February or March, doesn't really matter. And we got out there, we went skiing for the first day, and it was awful. It was terrible conditions. If you know Gordon loves to ski. He's a very, very good skier. I try to follow in his footsteps. And it's terrible conditions. 10:30 in the morning, we called it, we're going home, this sucks. Fine. We go home, and I said to Dad, I don't know where the snow is, but it sure the hell isn't here, so where is it? So I got online, did a little bit of Googling, and away we go. Snow's up in Canada. And a half an hour later, I looked over at my dad and I said, let's go to Canada, let's do some skiing, let's go. We leave tomorrow. And he goes, okay, you bet, let's go. So we went up to Canada, flew up there the next day. We skied a 3 different resorts, and then we went to this resort that I wanted to go to, this place called Kicking Horse. Not that that's important. The night before we go to Kicking Horse, it is pounding snow. It is 5 p.m. We had this really nice lodge in the middle of nowhere, and it is pounding snow. We wake up early in the morning. We drive the hour and a half there in this 4-wheel drive, and the snow is howling wind. It is blizzarding. And we show up at Kicking Horse. We to the lift, a bit weird if you're into a skier. Like, that's where they put them there. For some reason, that makes a lot of sense. Put the parking lot where you need to be. And we get out of the car, and there's a line building for the one gondola that this resort has. That's all this place has is one gondola. That's it. Bottom to top. Simple. There's a line building. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. Lift opens at 8:30 in the morning. I looked at Dad, and I said, shit, we got to get in line. Because the line's getting big. And we're not here to wait in lines. So we jump out, we get in line, and we're standing there waiting, and we're looking at the people, and we are out of our league. We are way out of our league. There are people in this line that have skis as big as surfboards. They've got avalanche backpacks with the beacons and the shovels and the probes, and they are all 10 years younger than us. And I looked at my dad, and we both gave that look that he had on the wing strut while skydiving. Oh, what did we sign up for? Anyway, we get on the lift, get on the gondola. I'm sitting across from the ski patroller guy. I said to the ski patroller, we've never been here before. Hey, would you mind? Where should we go? Explain it to us, you know, rookies, what have you. And he comes up, well, you need to take the easy way and this and that. And I look over at my dad, and he's not listening to you. That's very obvious. So again, I hit him again. You know, we know what we're doing. We know how to ski. Tell us where to go. The guy gives us some story. Anyway, look over at Dad. He shakes his head. Guy sitting next to the ski patrol, he goes, meet me at the top. Okay. Get up to the top. We get off the gondola, and it's him and his buddy, David and John. And David looks at us, and he says, do you know how to ski? First thing Eddie said, do you know how to ski? And I looked at him, and I said, yeah. And he said, no. Do you know how to ski? And I kind of looked at my dad, and like, apparently English was a challenge for this gentleman. And I said, yes, we do. And he goes, can you ski that? And he pointed up to this wall of ice and this cornice, and you know, you got to remember, it is 40 miles an hour wind, it is blinding snow, and he points up here to this wall of snow, and people are kind of half hucking off this cliff. There's 2 feet of powder. People are hooting and hollering. And my dad looks up at the thing, and he looks back at the guy. Same look as on the strut of this when we were skydiving a number of years ago. And he goes, yeah. A little apprehensive, to say the least. That day, those 2 guys led us around the mountain. It was the best day of skiing I've ever had with my father. Hooting and hollering like little kids. And if anybody's a skier, you know what I'm talking about. That pure joy out there. And it all was because, or he could have said no, he said yes twice. Yes to go, and yes to be led around. And it was an amazing day. The last story is, you've probably seen a lot of the photos up there. There's even one right there. The family, a bunch of years ago, 10 years or so, we're going to Nepal. We decided to go to Everest Base Camp. And although I have a lot of great memories, the family has a lot of great memories from that trip, the memory that actually most stands out to me was 9 months before the trip. And we were sitting at the dinner room table in Colorado, where we had so many dinners before, and it was your normal dinner. And Eric and I, my wife, had decided we wanted to do this. And we got about halfway through dinner, and I said, we are going to Everest Base Camp next fall. Who's coming? And my dad, I remember this because I looked right at him. He was eating. And he lifted his head up, and I saw that smile again, ear to ear. And he goes, let's do it. And it's interesting because that's what I remember most from that trip, is actually the yes to go. And as I think back to my dad and what I remember and what I'll take forward, his willingness, his desire, his ability to say yes, to take the adventure and smile and enjoy life. And that's what I'm going to take away, among a lot of other things. Thank you.
Scripture reading that I have chosen today comes from the book of Ecclesiastes, and also I've added another one to your bulletin from Isaiah chapter 40. The Isaiah chapter 40 verse is something of how I picture Gordon now, and this is my translation from the Hebrew. He gives power to the faint and strengthens the powerless. Even youth will faint and be weary, and the young will fall exhausted, but I'll renew their strength. They shall mount up on their Honda gold wings like eagles, and they shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not be faint. I see Gordon that way as I speak. And from Ecclesiastes, there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under heaven. There is a time to be born, and there is a time to die. There is a time to plant, and there is a time to kill, and a time to tear down, and a time to build up. There's a time to weep, and there's a time to laugh. There's a time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones and a time to gather them. A time to embrace and a time to refrain. A time to search and a time just to give up. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear and a time to mend. A time to be silent and a time to speak. A time for love and a time for peace. Writing this eulogy today was extremely difficult. Extremely difficult. All eulogies are hard. For family to share and think through, and for pastors. But this is difficult because this is written for a dear friend, a mentor, a guru to me. But to be honest, my friend said, I've been writing this for a while in my head, knowing that this day would someday come. But there's a complex paradox involved in the writing of this, made it easy for us to talk about him. Because we spend hundreds of hours on grand adventures, and so did many of you with Gordon. In fact, we all know that Gordon Poeschel's entire life was a grand adventure. I first met Betty and Gordon 10 years ago right out there in the narthex. And Gordon came walking up to me and he said, let's get on our bikes and ride. And I said, sounds great, I'll give you a call. So I called Gordon and we started riding together, and he had at that time this big bumblebee yellow Goldwing, Honda Goldwing. This little BMW F800 sport touring bike. And so here I would follow Gordon around this Kansas City, Missouri area on my little BMW and him on this big yellow motorcycle. And then that led to adventures down at Table Rock in Arkansas, where Steve, who's here, and Mona were here. If you would be on a grand adventure with Gordon, be ready to meet new people. And so there I was on this little BMW with another big Goldwing, and Steve's bike was the dark side. He put a car tire on that Goldwing of his. And here we are just scooting, hauling, tail end all over Arkansas, because Steve knows those roads like the back of his hand. And then that led me to upgrade my BMW to a big Kawasaki Vulcan Voyager, which Gordon went with me to buy this bike. And when I pulled it in front of the house, Betty says, that makes you look like a cop. So here, then Gordon upgrades to another red Goldwing, and then that upgrades me to another red Goldwing. And so now we're traveling all over the country on these big Honda Goldwing motorcycles. But I knew Betty and Gordon were my type of people that I would follow around when we were talking about scuba diving. And they were part owners at Midwest Scuba on 160th at that time, and all these adventures. And I said, oh, I have an adventure that I really want to do in my lifetime. And Gordon's listening to me, and I said, I want to dive like it was special and no one else had ever done it. Truck Lagoon, out there between the Philippines and the Hawaiian Islands. And Gordon looked at me and says, oh, Betty and I have done that. I went, what? You done? And he began to share stories. Gordon and the Grand Adventure. One day, I was up in his office with him to get something. And there on the wall, as I walked into the office, his home office, I saw this purple heart and this bronze star on the wall. And I'd traveled all over with Gordon. And I said, Gordon, I said something like this, what the heck is that? And he said, yeah, I was in Vietnam. I said, I knew that, but what's the Purple Heart? And so he goes into this long story because he never shared it. He didn't talk about this stuff. About how he was in this med facility. And the Northern Vietnamese put bombs on the top of him. Snuck in. But he called Charlie. And then when the bombs went off, they blasted the doors down and started strafing it with bullets. That was Gordon as a young man. Doing what he thought for his country and earning the Purple Heart and the Bronze Star. Some of you today may not even know that. But I could discuss Himalayas, him helping scuba and trying to give them the grand adventures that he wanted to have to share with other people. I could talk about him traveling globally with the Bear Corporation and the relationships and friendships he made with that. But here, let me just share quickly what it's like to hang out with Gordon and Betty too. Hey, Gordon, you want to go down with your church to Guatemala and build a school? Sure. Let me check with Betty. Hey, Gordon, you want to go to Kenya and do a birthing center in Thwaki Village, and Gary Beecham and Carolyn, it's their 50th wedding anniversary, and we're going to surprise her by doing a wonderful worship service in a Kenyan church. Celebrate their 50th. Want to go? Sure, let me check with Betty. Hey, Gordon, one of my buddies I grew up with, I love them dearly. High school friends of mine, and then his youth group that he worked with, he died of brainstem cancer, and we're going to go to the Tetons, and we're going to hike up 9,000 feet to Lake Solitude, and we're going to put his ashes there, and I'm going to do a service there. You want to go? Sure. Let me check with Betty. Hey, Gordon, we're going to go to Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, and we're going to build bunk beds and some outdoor toilets and learn about their culture and be immersed in their pain and their hurt. You want to go with us? By this time, he quit checking with Betty and said, sure. Hey, Gordon, I got some buddies from Illinois. You want to go to Sturgis with 500,000 of your closest friends, man? I'm definitely not checking with Betty on this one. Sturgis and Gordon. I could talk for hours about that. But Gordon was all about the grand adventure. Especially, and don't miss this, because it all sounds fun and cool and exciting and an adventure, if it had to do with helping other people. Okay? His work ethic on these service trips that we would take was unbelievable. He would get ticked off if we were doing a shopping day because he wanted to use all of his time and energy to help other people. Unbelievable. Kenya. He was mad that the building we were dedicating was already built. He wanted to build it and get in with them and work and build that building. 8,000 feet with my buddies, I couldn't keep up with this old man. This guy was in twice the shape that I was in. Hiking up 2,500-foot elevation with a bunch of high school kids and young kids, and then we decided to camp out up there that night also, and then come back down. My friends and people and you and me love to be around this guy. What was it about Gordon and this grand adventure philosophy that he had? One day he came to me, hey, Ted, I want to teach your children how to scuba dive. David and Lauren, sure. So your wrench story now makes a lot more sense to me. So we're scuba diving, we're doing our certified diving down at Table Rock, and Betty's there, and I'm there, and the kids are there. What a privilege for my children to meet your daddy and your granddaddy, to spend time with Betty and Gordon. Well, as we were doing our checkout dive, or Lauren, my daughter, lost her snorkel out there. I said, hey, Gordon, Lauren lost her snorkel, no big deal. And he goes, oh, I'll find it. It's a $12 snorkel. We'll get another one. Oh, no. I'll find it. Maybe he was looking for the wrench. So he gets his stuff on and starts doing a grid at the bottom of this lake, looking for Lauren's snorkel. He turned everything into a grand adventure. And if it was doing something for somebody else, it was really something he would sign up for. One night we were at Beaver Creek in the condo. And I said, hey, what's sun up tomorrow? When are we going to do our riding? So let's get that scheduled. And so we just get on Google, and sunrise comes up Beaver Creek. Wow, he goes, that was quick. On Google. I said, yeah, it'll do Japan. Japan, he starts doing Japan, then Australia, then Germany. Everything, even a Google search, turns into a grand adventure for this guy. Then he starts timing and how long it takes the algorithm to do that. Unbelievable. But if you haven't heard anything I've said, please listen now. Please. What was most dear to Gordon? I'm looking at right here on this row. Betty, he cherished his relationship with you. And that all those crazy adventures, where the heck is your Purple Heart? That you were able to do with this man and put up with this man.